Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Laura, and today I am really excited to be joined by Amy Berger. Amy is a certified nutrition specialist, and she's also a veteran. She is an acclaimed author who has specialized in low-carb nutrition. She is probably best known for her keto without the crazy content, but she has also supported a carnivore diet really long-term as an option for people as a therapeutic tool or as a way to simplify low-carb eating. She's authored books like The Alzheimer's Antidote, The Stall Slayer, and co-authored a book with Dr. Eric Westman called End Your Carb Confusion. She has a wonderful blog called To It Nutrition, and she does a lot of speaking and work with the Adapt Your Life Academy. And I think I've talked to you about this before, Amy, but you're one of the reasons why I actually fully committed from being keto to carnivore. And I think just in case people don't know this, I started keto just because that's what everybody was talking about in 2018, and was still really struggling with a lot of those foods being triggering for me. And I was still overeating and even binging on some of those foods. And I heard a talk that you did several years ago where you really opened up about your own personal journey and talking about even though specific foods were keto or approved, they were still triggering to you and causing you to overeat or to get off track and causing a lot of those mental problems or just mental addictions with food. And I think that was really the first time that I was awakened to this kind of concept of food addiction, and that just because it's approved doesn't mean you should magically be able to moderate it. And you were just this really big pivotal moment for me. And I went through and listened to so many of your podcasts. And so I'm really excited that we can share a little bit of this information with people who are maybe starting a new low carb or carnivore lifestyle, at the beginning of the year. So thank you so much for being here.
I am honored. I had no idea that I played that kind of role, but yeah, I know you are such a huge positive influence now on so many other people. So I'm just honored to be any part of that.
Well, thank you. And I would love it if you could share just a little bit about your personal journey. I think you're so acclaimed in the work that you do, but I think that part of the reason why it resonates with me and so many others is because of this personal connection that you have to this information and this science. So I would love to just have you share with people a little bit about your own personal journey with food and your background.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try to give the short version, but basically I kind of battled my weight most of my young adult life. My parents owned an ice cream and candy store. I was literally a kid in a candy store, and it took its toll, let's put it that way. And as I got older, I became much more active. I exercised a lot. I ate what I thought was a healthy, good diet, and I could not lose the weight no matter what I did. Now, I didn't have any health issues, but I was a lot bigger than I thought I should be in comparison to what I was eating. And so long story short, I found the Atkins diet. That was my entry into all of this. My mother bought the Atkins book at a yard sale, back when people still had yard sale. And she never actually read it, but I did. And it just made sense. It made so much sense that I'm like, I might as well try this. And like so many people, I started and stopped and started and stopped many times until this just became what I did. I actually, because I first started it in college and I wasn't ready to make it what I was going to do. There was too much going on with college, social life and all that. And after, and of course it worked. I lost the weight and everything was great. And I was in and out of a lot of jobs that I did not like and was not fulfilled by. And it occurred to me that, oh, wait, look, nutrition is a career. Maybe I could do that and I could help other people learn about this awesome low carb thing. So that's what I did. I went back and I got a master's in nutrition. And it's interesting because I went to nutrition school after I had already been eating low carb for a few years. So I went to a good program, right? I didn't have to unlearn anything. Nobody was telling me that saturated fat was bad. It was a very good program, but that's where I learned the biochemistry and the science behind what I already knew. I would learn the pathways and say, oh, that's why keto does what it does. That's why X, Y, and Z are happening. And so it was really cool to put those pieces together. And even though I started this personally for weight loss, I have a family history of type 2 diabetes, obesity, cancer, stroke, all those things. And as I learned more and more about what this way of eating can do, whether we're talking low carb, keto, carnivore, carbohydrate restriction. Weight loss became one of the least impressive, least important things that this can do. I mean, I wrote a book about Alzheimer's, and we all know now about just so many, keto for mental health, so many amazing things. And I just love teaching people about it and helping other people with it. But, as you know, the last few years have gotten like really insane on social media. And so now really my favorite thing to do is help people simplify and to drown out all this noise and craziness and hyperbole that is going on that frankly scares the bejesus out of everybody.
Yes, I want to take a quick second and let you know that this video is sponsored by Element. Element is the electrolyte drink mix that I drink every single day. I always start my morning with a packet of the unflavored electrolytes, which has the perfect ratio of the sodium, magnesium, and potassium that I need to keep me hydrated all throughout the day. And I love that there's no sweeteners, no fillers. There's literally just sodium, magnesium, and potassium in it. And in the afternoons, I like having one of their sparkling Element cans for a little extra electrolytes, or I also love the Element lemonade salt packet that I'll put like in my water if I'm needing a little boost in the afternoons. And I just noticed that I sleep so much better. I have better digestive system, and I avoid leg cramps or headaches or any other symptom of having low sodium. Element has a deal for all my subscribers where you can go to drinkelement.com/LauraSpath and you can get this free sample pack with any purchase. And it has 8 free packets in here of 4 of their most popular flavors. So thanks to Element for sponsoring this video. Things were so much more simple, when we kind of started this so many years ago, like over a decade ago. And I think I think as much as people also understand now that saturated fat is not bad, but there still is this part of us that's baked in about the fear of raising cholesterol or the myth. I still get questioned all the time of like, didn't, Dr. Atkins die of a heart attack from eating too much bacon and butter? And so there's a lot of that negative information that's really out there. And that's the first biggest hurdle. So there's several things that you mentioned that are so true. Like that's the first biggest hurdle is we have to get people to believe that and understand it. And I think that I could tell my personal story and show a before and after picture as much as I want, but people are not going to be bought into the fact that I'm not going to die of a heart attack any second until they really dig in and they have to be ready to learn the scientific information on their own. I think that's a huge part of it. And then I also think that more than anything, like you said, they have to be ready to take on that journey themselves and keep things really simple. I think the good thing is there's so much information out there, but it also can be a challenge because that can make things really overwhelming or confusing for people.
Yeah, it's I always say that social media is a blessing and a curse. Like there's so much information out there. There's a lot of great information, but there's also a lot of crap and a lot of nonsense that people have to wade through to get to the good stuff. But I mean, you're right. There's the sort of intellectual hurdle of thinking I'm going to clog my arteries or like red meat causes cancer and all these things that we know are not true, but that's still what's out there. And then there's all those mental and psychological hurdles, which I think are probably far harder to get over.
Yeah. And I think that's where the relationship with food kind of comes into play, where we can understand the science and the mechanisms, but then we have to be willing to make those changes. And I think, you really mentioned you can lose weight a lot of ways. There are hundreds of ways that you can lose weight. And so it really doesn't end up being about the weight loss for people. It is because there are so many other benefits. Like I've lost weight dozens of times in my life through Atkins and low carb and vegan and all of these other methods. But it wasn't until I experienced all of the other benefits from carnivore did I find something that I wanted to stick to long-term or that I really could stick to long-term. And I think that's can be a game changer for people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think weight loss so often, even though that's like so many people want it so badly, me included, like I totally understand that line of like, I just got to get this weight off immediately. Like tomorrow I have to lose 20 pounds. But for so many people with keto and maybe even more so with carnivore, you tend to feel better before weight comes off. Like the brain fog, like within days, maybe the brain fog will go away. The joint pain goes away or gets much better, even if it doesn't go away completely. The hunger is like really well controlled. Just so many bloating, kind of like within days, that excess water just goes away. And at least that is proof to someone like, oh, something's happening here. The scale hasn't changed yet, but something's going on.
Yeah, instantly the bloating and the digestive issues and all of those other benefits, like we start sleeping better. Those can be some pretty quick improvements.
Yeah.
So with all of the information that's out there and all of the different protocols and carnivore and keto, and like, if somebody wanted to get started, if they're really struggling with like, I just need to know how to get started, like give me the simple basics, like what are your most basic, simple tips or advice to somebody who's just really looking to get started on a health journey?
It really depends on like where they're starting from and what, how, I don't know how to phrase this like a politically correct way. How debilitated are they? Do they just want to lose 20 pounds, or do they have type 2 diabetes? Do they have migraines? Do they have fatty liver? Do that, like all kinds of autoimmune problem? So it really depends, because some people, not everyone needs keto or carnivore, right? Some people can just stop drinking sugary soda. Stop, like just eliminate the obvious crap, like the pastries and the sugar and the cookie. Like just doing that will take some people a really far way. And then some of us, though, it's actually easier to do very, very strict keto, because you can get rid of, the ice cream and the cake and the cereal and the donuts. But if you're still eating, potatoes and rice and steel cut oats, that's going to keep that carbohydrate craving going. It's going to like keep you on the blood sugar roller coaster. Whereas if you take all of it out, it's actually easier to stick to, because like the cravings are gone. For a lot of people, that food noise is gone. And for some people, though, keto doesn't do that, and they need carnivore. They need to like, I'm taking all of this out. I'm going to do this in the most dead simple, straightforward way I can. So it really depends, but I would probably encourage people. I mean, number one, stop drinking sugar. Now, if you're watching LAURAESPATH's channel or listening to her, you're probably well past that anyway. But to someone who's brand new, let's start with like the lowest hanging fruit here. Stop drinking sugar. But
even fruit juice is sugar.
Yeah, not natural fruit juice, smoothies, all those healthy smoothies and shake. No. But I just think that getting rid of that most obvious sources of sugar and starch is going to take people a long way. And if you want to do like strict keto, I am going to toot my own horn for a sec. I think that Dr. Westman's book and mine, End Your Carb Confusion, is a really good starting place. The phase 1 program is the version of strict keto that he's been using in his clinic for like 30 years. And that's a research proven approach. And there's a food list, like it couldn't be more clear as to what to do and what not to do.
Yeah. And then I think you even have resources too. If somebody's like, okay, I've tried keto, it doesn't work for me, I need to be more strict, I have more metabolic damage to reverse. I had the privilege of being a part of one of your carnivore groups as well, where it's like how to be carnivore. There's a food list for carnivore. There's a lot of resources. So I don't know if you're running that course again in the future, but that was a great resource for people. And it was fun to see kind of everybody encouraging each other and jumping in and having all of those resources and people that they could reach out to as they were first getting started.
Yeah. Thank you. Just to let everyone know, we are doing the carnivore course again this month. I think it opens January 19th. And Dr. Westman is doing a live workshop on the 18th and 19th. Just go to adaptyourlifeacademy.com and you can find information on that workshop. But yeah.
Great. And I'll link all that down below as well.
Thanks.
I think maybe there is some fear sometimes of people going from keto to carnivore. Like keto, of course, nobody needs carbs. Nobody needs junk food. Hopefully people, like you mentioned, people know they shouldn't be drinking sugar. But when you cut out the vegetables and the fruit, I think there's a lot of fear that comes along with like, am I going to have digestive issues? Is my cholesterol going to skyrocket? What's this keto flu that's going to happen, or this carnivore flu as I adapt into like very strict carnivore? If somebody is trying to take that leap, what are some things that can help make that transition? If they're going to go strict carnivore, what could make that transition a little easier for them?
Yeah, and before I get to that, I just want to
Yeah.
say that I was very skeptical of carnivore. Even being a keto nutritionist, I understood, okay, we don't need sugar and starch, but you still need like leafy greens, right? You
Yeah.
need all those plant compounds and all the like, phytochemicals, and like you need the fiber, right? And it took me some time to sort of come around and say, maybe we don't. And that doesn't mean that carnivore is ideal for everyone, but I no longer have any safety concerns, at least in the short term. Like long term, there may be some stuff for some people, but nobody's going to die of scurvy in a month of doing a carnivore diet,
Yeah.
So,
Well, what was that helped you realize? Was there specific resources or information that helped you to kind of know, like, there is no safety issues in, for somebody jumping into carnivore and eliminating vegetables?
yeah, there's a little bit of published research. There isn't much, but there is a little bit, and the little bit that exists is pretty solid, and in terms of like there's no issues. But it's also the growing numbers of people doing it and reporting what's going on. And if I'm going to take them at their word and not think that they're lying or they're hiding something, they're doing extremely well. They're not keeling over from scurvy. They're not dying of heart attacks. And it's, even if I had some safety concerns, those really are longer term things. And if somebody has debilitating, Crohn's disease, where they can't even leave the house, or you've got a skin problem that's so bad, you're like ashamed to go out in public, and you stop eating vegetables and you do a carnivore diet and everything clears up and you feel amazing, how could I possibly tell you like that's dangerous, that's bad? Meanwhile, you've spent thousands of dollars on medications. You've spent thousands of dollars on supplements. Your dresser looks like a pharmacy. I mean, I know. And like how you've been trying different things for 10, 20, 30 years and nothing ever worked until the carnivore diet. How am I going to say you got to stop that? That'll kill you.
Yeah.
This to me, I did a video a while back on myths about an anti-inflammatory diet. And one of the things I said was, where is the curiosity? All of these dietitians and nutritionists, oh, you have to eat the rainbow. You have to eat lots of fruits and vegetables and fiber and this and that. And here you have people with highly like severe inflammatory conditions going into complete remission with a carnivore diet, sometimes with keto. Where is the curiosity? They are eating nothing but the foods you claim are inflammatory. They're eating red meat, they're eating bacon, they're eating pork, they're eating, tallow, and they feel they're not eating any of your supposed anti-inflammatory superfoods. Where is the curiosity? I was at least curious enough to be like, maybe this carnivore thing isn't that crazy after all.
Yeah, I love that, because you can't argue with the way people feel in their results. And I always try to tell people, like, even if you're skeptical, give it a try for 30, 60, 90 days. The way that you feel, and check your blood work if you're concerned, and really dig into that research. But you can't deny the way that you feel and the healing that can happen if you just give it a try. And I think nobody's gonna, you're going to know pretty quickly how you feel. And if you feel better and your digestive system improves, like, that's usually the best way to convince somebody, is getting them to try it in the first place.
Yeah. And I say the same thing. Give it a try. If it works, great. If it doesn't, go back to what you were doing before.
Yeah,
no,
exactly. You're not committing to life here. I don't even know if I'm committing to life yet. Like, we're all just taking it one day at a time at this point.
Yeah. But you asked about how to kind of make that shift easier to carnivore. I think if somebody's coming from a keto diet to carnivore, they're probably not going to have any major issues, because it's a big shift, but at the same time, it's not, in terms of like the electrolytes and all that most people probably won't run into any big problems if they're going to carnivore from keto. If they're going from like standard American, anything goes, most people, not everyone, most people really, really need a lot more salt, a ton more salt. Some people might need magnesium if they get like leg cramps or constipation, but that's the big stuff. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't say, if you take medicine for type 2 diabetes, especially insulin, or for type 1, or blood pressure medicine, you really, really need medical supervision, because keto and carnivore are so powerful
Yeah.
that they can start to lower your blood sugar and blood pressure like almost immediately, and your medication might need to be adjusted. And so that's that's just really, people need to know that. But I think it's a psychological shift more than anything, especially if you live in a household where you're the only one doing this. Your kids or your spouse or your parents, whatever, are still eating their stuff. So not only is all their food still available to you and within your sight, but they might be actively like warning you against this. Oh, it's so dangerous. I'm so worried about you. I can't believe you're doing this. So you kind of have to fight all that off. And I don't know how to make that easier except to join a community, find a group online or in person where you can get support and get encouragement and get, help troubleshooting. But I think physically, really, it's so much more. It's really about the salt. And I think for some people, and this is maybe a little too deep in the weeds, but food prep, massive food prep. Don't leave it to chance. Don't think that you're going to come home from work after a busy day and you're tired and you're stressed and you're ravenous. If there's nothing ready, you're going to reach for whatever's handy, and whatever's handy is going to be a box of cereal, or it's going to be a bran muffin. So if you're going to grill a steak, grill 8 steaks. Learn to eat cold food. I eat cold food all the time. Slice it up, dip it. If you're not carnivore, dip it in ranch dressing or blue cheese dressing. If you're carnivore, sprinkle some salt on it. I think that is a huge piece of making this doable for people, is really having a lot of food prepared ahead of time so that you're never in a situation where there's nothing to eat. You can always, we call it purse bacon, right? Grab a bunch of cold bacon, stick it in a Ziploc bag, stick it in your purse and go.
That's so funny that you said that. I literally did all of these things yesterday. I, came back from the holidays. It was my first day back to work in my corporate job, and everything I had procrastinated before the holidays was on my to-do list and had to get done immediately. I didn't leave this desk for like 12 hours yesterday. I ended up I had a cold pork chop in the fridge that I ate during a quick break. That was my protein bar, as I just ate a cold pork chop. And then later in the day, I already had meatballs already made in the freezer. I threw them from frozen into the air fryer, and that was my second meal, and some leftover shrimp. Like, everything I ate yesterday was just like stuff I had prepared ahead of time. And had I not, maybe I would have ordered fast food. Maybe I would have ended up eating something that, was laying around that was in the kids' pantry, or just eating a whole bunch of cheese, which is technically carnivore. But I also know that just like eating 5 string cheeses throughout the day is definitely going to cause me some issues in terms of inflammation and weight gain. And I wouldn't have felt as great. So even after doing this for so many years, like, food prep is a huge one still for me.
Yeah, me too.
I love that. Yeah. So if somebody has tried carnivore, or they're doing carnivore right now, like when they watch this, maybe people are doing World Carnivore Month, which is in January right now, and they're feeling stuck, or they're not losing weight, or they're not getting the results that they want, what kind of tweaks could they make? Like, where do you suggest people start with identifying or troubleshooting why things maybe aren't going well on carnivore?
It depends. And first, I think it's important to let everybody know that this happens. Carnivore doesn't always magically fix everything. We wish it did. Sometimes stuff still just happens in your body that we can't explain. But if you really want to kind of drill down, I think if somebody is still dealing with a lot of unexplained or unresolved pain or skin problems, digestive problems, I think, and I'm really hesitant to say this, but there is a rationale, I think, for trying, and I hate this phrase, but the lion diet, nothing but red meat, because eggs can be a problem. They're one of the top allergens. So eggs can be a problem for people. Seafood can be a problem for people. I even had one client who discovered for himself that pork raised his blood pressure. Even unprocessed pork, like not salami, not bacon, not, I don't know, whatever, sausage, like just pork, regular. Yeah. And so, in theory, beef or lamb or something, just plain beef is going to be the least problematic. And so that's a further way to eliminate other possible variables, even within carnivore foods. And then one of the other things that a lot of people run into is they think that, and because maybe someone has told them, the carnivore is like automatically a magical weight loss diet. if you just go carnivore, you will lose weight. I think we've both seen plenty of people gain weight on carnivore. And if you are starting from a point of being frail or underweight and you need to gain healthy weight, that's what we want. That's great.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about women that like are already, heavier, and they're not gaining muscle, they're not gaining bone mass, they're gaining fat. So I do think that, unfortunately, we have to keep in mind that fat is not unlimited on carnivore. Some people do really well with that sort of lower protein, higher fat kind of thing. Some people don't. And so I hate to say like, well, I can't tell you what to do, but what have you already been doing?
Yeah.
And what could you change? Like if you're already doing this ultra high fat because you think you can, but it's not working, maybe you need to shift to slightly leaner meats, or like don't melt half a stick of butter on top of your steak every day. And so it really just is an individual thing, and it depends on what someone has already tried and what they're trying to accomplish. But I mean, it's kind of like carnivore seems so straightforward, right? Just eat meat, or like don't eat plants. But okay, just eat meat. Is that just beef? Is it pork? Is it poultry? Is it seafood? Is it eggs? Can I have dairy? What are my macros? What about this? So like there is actually room for a lot of variability within that in carnivore.
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, it's something that you do have to play around with and tweak. And I love the idea of maybe going a little more strict as an elimination diet, and then you can add some other meats and eggs back in and see how you feel. But this is something that's very individual. And I know, myself included, like we want quick results. We want to lose weight. We think that like, if I just lose this weight, then everything will get easier again. And I am living proof that, I talk openly about how that's not true. And that's been a really hard part of my own journey. But we also didn't gain all of this weight or get unhealthy overnight. And it takes our bodies some time to reverse that. So I know it's hard to be patient, but that's probably what's going to give us the best long-term results.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's probably the hardest thing to do is to just hang in there and just keep going.
Yeah. Any favorite thoughts or ideas for like eating out or social situations or dinner with friends or traveling? I'm leaving in a couple of hours to go to the airport, and I'm traveling today. So I know that's something that I do regularly, but what are some of your favorite ways to keep out the carbs when you're on the go?
If you're by yourself, I think it's actually pretty easy. You're never going to go anywhere where there's nothing available. You might have to pay more, which is really frustrating, like hard-boiled eggs at the gas station versus junk food. Everything is always a little more expensive, but you can always get a naked burger patty. So even at an airport, at a McDonald's, just get a burger patty, get a grilled chicken patty. If the socializing is a little harder, hopefully you have friends and family that respect what you're doing. They might not agree. They might think it's crazy, but if they're not like actively kind of making fun of you or making you afraid, I think you just have to trust that you're doing what you need to do for your body, and that they might be able to eat something that has no effect on them, but you can't. And that's not fair. It's not fun, but I think you can only do the best you can in whatever situation you're in. Like I think if you're on your own, it's much easier. If you're with other people, then you either just have to be very selective about what you're doing, or depending on the situation, bring food with you or eat ahead. I mean, if your health is so compromised, or you just feel so much better eating strict carnivore or strict keto, then it's on you to take care of yourself and your needs. You can't expect the world to cater to you. It would be nice if it did, but you really have to be proactive about meeting your own needs, and don't feel bad for doing that.
Yeah. And like you said, it all goes back to that food prep, like being prepared ahead of time and looking for how you can be prepared for whatever scenario might arise. Yeah. And I think it also goes back to what you mentioned about accountability. Like it can feel very lonely being the only person in your family or at a restaurant who's making those choices. But when you can reach out to people, like this is the beauty of the internet, is there's a large community of people who are going through what you're going through. And so I will link your community down below where people can find it. I also really encourage people to check out your YouTube channel that you mentioned. Like there are so many, if you just want like motivation and resources and somebody to shoot straight and simple to you, like it's just such a great place I love a lot of the videos that you have on there about just like kind of pushing out aside the noise that we often hear and how to find a way that make things work for you. And then obviously like, you know, your books and resources. And I really encourage people to check that out because they have been a huge part of my journey and continue to be a valuable resource for me. So I'm really grateful.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Anything else that you feel like you want to leave people with or just have them hear as they're maybe trying to focus on improving their health right now?
Yeah, how do I say this in a simple way? When you take your health seriously, and if you are trying to reclaim your health or improve your health or just sort of get out of the hole, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy to be scared of everything. Everything is poisonous, everything is toxic, everything's going to kill you. If you listen to one too many influencers out there, you will eventually reach a point where you can't eat anything because every single thing is out to kill you. And it is really unfortunate that we've gotten to this place because there are some people who need ultra strict carnivore or who need the lion diet, but not everybody does. There are some people who react poorly to sucralose or aspartame or something. Some people don't. Like, oh, that might be verboten. I don't know. But listen to people that you trust. But please, everybody, please be on the lookout for your own mental health. That are the people you are listening to and following, are they making you more scared and more anxious and more worried? Or are they actually really helping you feel better physically and mentally? Because I always say this, what is the point? What is the point of losing weight or reversing your diabetes or feeling amazing, of having clear skin, of having no joint pain, if you are completely anxious and miserable and scared all day long of food? If every meal is like you're just petrified. This is not how it was supposed to be. Right. This isn't how it was when you and I got started. And so it's like I said, social media is a blessing and a curse. And everybody, you don't have to listen to every single podcast that comes out. You don't have to watch every single video except mine and Laura's you have to watch.
Right. This one, after this one,
like,
don't.
It's okay to unsubscribe. It's okay to unfollow. It's okay to mute people. Protect your own mental health.
And that honestly is why I wanted to talk to you today. I appreciate so much the voice. You are the voice of reason in so much of this crazy world out here. And I just continue to learn so much from you. I'm so grateful. I will link your website and resources down below. Any other specific place? What's the best place for people to find you?
That's a good question. I'm in the process of building a new website. My new website is going to be ketowithoutthecrazy.com, but it's not ready yet. We are recording this, January 6th. It's not even like up yet. But in the meantime, you can follow me on X. I'm at 2itnutrition, and I'm on Substack now. So that's where I blog these days. So look me up on Substack.
I appreciate it so much. Thank you, Amy. Yes, of course. I will link all those down below. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Have a great day.